and do my intro. Okay. I will go ahead and call to order this hearing of October 26, 2023 in the matter of case file Z0296-23-HDB. This is an appeal of that portion of the application. This is the Stafford Road improvement project. My name is Joe Turner. I am the county's hearings officer. I'll start with some brief announcements and a summary of the process that will follow, so everyone understands how you can participate in the hearing. I start by saying I am not a county employee. I'm licensed as an attorney and trained as a planner. I serve under contract to the Board of Commissioners. I say that so you know you're getting a somewhat independent review of the appeal before me today. My role as the hearings officer is to conduct public hearings and make decisions about certain land use matters in Clackamas County. In making those decisions, I'm required to apply the county's existing laws. I'm not a policymaker. I don't have the authority to vary from or change the laws. If you think that the laws need to be changed, you can work with Planning Commission and Board of Commissioners to do that. But state law requires that this application be judged based on the laws in effect when the application was filed. Procedure will follow. I will start by asking staff to summarize their staff report, copies of which are available on the county's website, and respond to the appeal. Then the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to the appeal and the staff report. If anybody else wants to testify in support of this application, they may do so. And then I will go to the appellant, give the appellant, Mr. McVeigh, the first opportunity to testify. And then anybody else who wants to say anything about the application in opposition or with questions or concerns. You'll fall into one of those categories: support, opposition, or appellant, or questions or concerns. Once everyone's had an initial opportunity to testify, I will give staff and the applicant alone an opportunity to respond to the testimony that was offered. If that response includes any new evidence, I will give everyone a chance to respond to the new evidence. Otherwise, I'll close the public portion of the hearing and announce what I'm going to do. Generally, I will issue a written decision within about 2 weeks after the close of the record, and I'll send that decision to the county. The county will send it to parties of record. Anybody who testifies orally or in writing before the close of the record will be sure and receive a copy of my decision. If you decide you don't want to testify, but want to receive a copy of my decision, you can contact county staff and they'll put you on the list to receive a copy. Anyone with an interest in this application may offer relevant oral or written testimony, but testimony should be relevant to the applicable approval criteria, which are set out in the staff report. Also, please don't repeat testimony offered by yourself or earlier witnesses. This is not a popularity contest. Whether everybody loves it or everybody hates it is not an issue I get to consider. The only issue before me is whether the application does or does not comply with the applicable approval criteria. However, it's important that all parties make their best case to me. My decisions are final for purposes of the county, but may be appealed to the Land Use Board of Appeals, or LUBA. But LUBA generally will not allow new testimony and evidence on appeal. They'll decide any appeal based on the record before me. So if you feel it's important that myself or any future decision maker knows something about this application, you need to make sure it gets into the record before me. In order to preserve your right to appeal, you or someone expressly representing you must testify orally or in writing before the close of the record. And in order to raise an issue on appeal, someone must have raised that issue before me. If you feel you need more time to prepare, you can ask me to hold the record open or to continue the hearing. If I hold the record open, you'll have an opportunity to submit additional written testimony and evidence before I make a decision. If I continue the hearing, we can come back and do this again at a later date. But whether or not the hearing is continued or the record is held open for any other purpose, state law requires that this application be judged based on the laws in effect when the application was filed. If anybody else wants me to hold the record open or continue the hearing for any other purpose, you must make that request before the close of the hearing today. Also, my decisions must comply with state law that requires that I issue a final written decision within 150 days after this application was filed. So there's some limit to how long I can continue the hearing or hold the record open. When you testify, please begin by stating your name and your full mailing address. Please spell your last name so I get it right. And if you represent someone else, please say so. And then I will leave it up to the county staff to summarize the online technical process, how you could participate in the hearing. Ms. Nesbitt.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. The panelists for today's hearing will include the hearings officer, county staff, the applicant, and the appellant. Who will have both audio and video capability. Audience members who have joined the meeting will have their mics muted unless they wish to testify, in which case they will be called upon to do so by a county staff moderator, which is Darcy. Audience members' videos will not be turned on at any time. Today's hearing is being recorded as required by law. The county will make every effort to post the recording on the county website later today. There is a designated time during the hearing when it will be open for testimony. The hearings officer will make it clear when this is. If you want to provide testimony, you will utilize the raise hand feature. Attendees on PC and iPad, you have a raise hand button on the Zoom bar, top or bottom, depending on the device. And Mr. McVeigh, as Mr. Turner pointed out, to raise your hand, it is *9. Whether the moderator switches you over to provide testimony, your screen will look different for a little while. I'm sorry, when the moderator switches you over to provide testimony, your screen will look different for a little while. Primarily, you will see all participants' cameras, not just the one who is speaking. Staff will call upon you when it is time for you to provide testimony. Be sure to provide your name and mailing address when you begin. Once you have provided testimony, your mic will be muted and your screen will be returned to normal. If the record is left open at the end of this hearing and you wish to submit additional written testimony, email written testimony to Ben Blessing, and I will provide his email address at the end of the hearing. If, as an alternative to emailing Ben Blessing, you may also send mail to Clackamas County Planning and Zoning, 150 Beaver Creek Road, Oregon City, Oregon, 97045. The staff contact email address is also available on the webpage where you found the Zoom link for today's hearing. Testimony must be received by 4 p.m. on the day the record closes. People who testify and provide their mailing address will receive a copy of the hearings officer's written decision. If you do not wish to testify but would like to receive the decision, you must provide your email or standard mailing address. You can email your information to the staff contact. Again, the information is found on the webpage where you found the link today, or you can enter that information in the Zoom chat function during the hearing. Thank you.
Okay, you want to go ahead and do staff's presentation, the staff report, or the staff decision, rather?
Sure. Okay. I just want to confirm, is everybody seeing?
Yes.
My screen? Okay. Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Lindsay Nesbitt. I am the planning manager. I am covering for Ben Blessing, who is the planner who reviewed this application as well as authored the decision for this application. So today is the appeal hearing of a habitat conservation area decision, file number Z0296-23. We are joined today by the applicant, who is also on staff here at the county, but in our engineering division. So they have identified some needed transportation improvements to Stafford Road. And the area of those improvements also encompasses a habitat conservation area and buffers for Pecan Creek. So they submitted an application in anticipation of those roadway improvements, and staff reviewed the application and approved it. And subsequently, it was appealed during the appeal period. As mentioned, I was not the author of this application, so my presentation today is very high level, just to go over the basic outline of the application, and then the applicant and the applicant's team can speak to more technical questions if needed. So as mentioned, the project includes roadway improvements to Stafford Road between Southwest Rosemont Road and Southwest Childs Road. Here is a panned out site vicinity map of the location of the proposed improvements of Stafford Road, outlined in red. So the roadway improvements consist of, but are not limited to, the widening of Stafford Road, adding turn lanes, creating a new roundabout, installing new stormwater treatment facility, and providing substantial mitigation, which includes the planting of native trees, shrubs, and grasses in the areas that are proposed to be disturbed. So this is an aerial view, again, of the proposed improvement, the scope of the project for the Stafford Road, outlined here in red. And then the color here is the mapped habitat conservation area. And you can see how these improvements, the areas of the habitat that will be impacted by these roadway improvements. So again, this is just another version of the habitat conservation area map. The red on the map represents the area of Stafford Road that will be improved with this project. And then the gray is the mapped habitat conservation areas. And as you can see, there's high conservation areas here and moderate conservation areas here. And then unfortunately, our maps with the project are broken up into two different maps. So this is the lower portion or the other portion of the roadway improvements for Stafford Road in conjunction with the habitat conservation area. So overall, the applicant submitted as part of the habitat conservation area, as you can see by the maps, the roadway improvements actually go right through the buffer area. And so a requirement is to submit an impact evaluation and alternatives analysis, which the applicant did along with their expert team. And they evaluated other roadway design standards in an attempt to reduce and mitigate the impacts to the habitat conservation. What they determine is with these other design options, one, that impacts to the HCA is unavoidable, but the proposed roadway improvements are the minimum necessary to improve the transportation system. And there, as mentioned, there were some areas where it was unavoidable to develop within the habitat, within the HCA buffer. So therefore they provide a very significant and substantial mitigation plan and enhancement plan. So staff reviewed all of those, agreed with the information and analysis provided by the applicant, and therefore recommended approval of the application. The mitigation plan will restore 14,805 square feet of the degraded buffer. 25,952 square feet of additional stream and wetland buffer restoration is included. 568 native trees will be added, and 2,845 native shrubs will be added to the habitat area as well. And just as a note, there were two other applications that were reviewed at the same time with with this HCA application. Both of these were approved and they were not appealed. So therefore they are valid as they were not appealed. So county staff recommends that the hearings officer upholds the initial planning director's decision of approval with conditions. So that completes my brief presentation.
Thank you. What does HDB stand for? You gave me the other one, but I didn't.
Yes, so that's just the way we set up our file numbers. There's is it HDB? Okay, sorry, hold on.
There's
We
HMV
have,
and
like,
CMP. You just gave me those. But...
Yeah, so we have HDA, and that's if it's subject to the first part of section 706 for
okay.
ZDO. And then it's the HDB if it's subject to the B section of that. Does that make sense? And then, yeah. And then we have a C if it's subject to a different section. So
what's the HD stand for?
I'd have to go get the fee schedule from our yeah.
Okay.
I think I don't know offhand.
Okay. Is the applicant here represented? Who wants to testify on behalf of the applicant first? Go ahead.
I would. Thank you, Lindsay. Yes, my name is Jonathan Hangartner, and I'm the applicant. Last name Hangartner, Hangartner, and my address is at the Clackamas County offices, 150 Beaver Creek Road, Oregon City, Oregon, 97045. So I do have a brief presentation. I will share my screen. Can you all see my screen now?
Mm-hmm.
So some of this will be a duplication of what Lindsay said, but I would like to provide additional background information and some more details about the project. So the subject area that contains habitat conservation area is located along Southwest Stafford Road between South Rosemont Road and Southwest Childs Road, where there is an HCA associated with the Pecan Creek and a tributary to Pecan Creek. All approval criteria have been met for the HCA development, map verification, and construction management plan per the applicable sections of Clackamas County zoning and development ordinance. The proposed improvements include improvements to the intersection of Stafford Road and Childs Road. This includes a construction of a roundabout. Clackamas County's transportation system plan has long identified this location as needing intersection improvements due to congestion during the AM and PM peak hours and number of accidents. The proposed roundabout is predicted to reduce fatal and injury crashes by 85% compared to the existing stop control configuration. Also, the proposed roundabout is a safer intersection treatment than a traffic signal. In fact, a traffic signal would be predicted to actually increase fatal and injury crashes by 78% compared to the existing stop control configuration. Additionally, the proposed roundabout will improve the intersection operations from level of service F to level of service B. And the proposed roundabout will provide bike and pedestrian facilities within the intersection. In addition to construction of a roundabout, the proposed improvements include addition of 6-foot wide paved bike lanes along Stafford Road between Petula Way and Rosemont Road. In addition to intersection improvements, the proposed improvements include improving the natural habitat. We will connect the habitat to water and other habitat areas through the use of a new fish passable culvert to replace an existing fish barrier. This is the Pecan Creek. We will improve the natural habitat by widening the creek to match the active channel width identified in the natural resources assessment. We will also install new stormwater management facilities to capture, detain, and treat runoff before discharging into Pecan Creek. We will utilize native landscaping materials to restore the impacted HCA to the extent possible. This includes the addition of mitigation planting to improve the buffer quality within the project limits. And although the subject area has approximately 25 existing trees impacted, the proposed replanting includes hundreds of native trees, thousands of native shrubs, and native grasses. I do want to point out that these roadway improvements were designed to minimize impacts to natural resources and surrounding properties to the extent possible. This was accomplished through narrower bike lanes along Stafford Road, 6-foot wide paved bike lanes instead of the standard 8-foot width, and by designing roadside slopes to the maximum allowable and constructing retaining walls to reduce embankment impacts to the HCA. I want to describe a little bit the stormwater management facilities that we're proposing in this area. The primary stormwater management facility is a rain garden. Bioretention rain gardens are vegetated depressions that capture and treat runoff with a combination of vegetation and biofiltration soil media. According to WES's stormwater standards, rain gardens are ideal for residential and small commercial sites within parking lots and along roadways, which is the situation of the subject area. A rain garden will promote infiltration and treatment of the roadway runoff, which will improve the water quality of the roadway runoff prior to entering Pecan Creek. Additionally, the rain garden will attenuate peak flows using an above-ground storage basin, which aids in stream flow moderation, that stream being Pecan Creek. And the rain garden is designed to fully drain between rainfall events. Rain gardens are not designed to have standing water once drained, and full drainage typically occurs within several hours. In addition to the proposed rain garden, we are utilizing pre-treatment structures as part of our stormwater management approach. Although pre-treatment is not required for runoff to the rain garden, a series of catch basins and manholes is included in the proposed design. Flow control sedimentation manholes will cause suspended solids to sink to the bottom, i.e. the sump of the structure, and oil and floatable debris on the surface cannot exit during normal rain events. And there's a small schematic here showing that. Additionally, a series of catch basins with sediment trapping sumps will be located at the roundabout prior to discharging to the rain garden. A brief explanation of how a bioretention rain garden works by treating runoff and leaching chemicals. The bioretention rain garden facility proposed at Childs Road is a filtration facility. The rain garden is designed to remove typical organic and inorganic compounds anticipated to run off from the roadway. This means that stormwater flows through 18 inches of a water quality soil mixture before flowing into the stream. The water quality soil mixture is high in organic matter, which filters organic compounds from the stormwater. The plants in the soil renew the organic matter and promote microbial and fungal activity that help break down the organic compounds. Inorganic compounds, such as phosphorus and copper, adsorb strongly to the organic matter, clays, and silts in the soil. The bioretention facility is designed according to the requirements of Clackamas Water Environment Services, and the stormwater management approach follows WES and the National Marine Fisheries Service standards. Bioretention is an established stormwater treatment technology that is widely used to prevent leaching chemicals. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify in support of the application? If so, please raise your hand at this point. And I'm not seeing anybody. So we'll go to Mr. McVeigh, the appellant. Mr. McVeigh, you'll need to unmute yourself again by *6 on your phone. There you go.
Yeah.
Can I get your name and your address, please?
My name is Stuart Lloyd McVay, MCVAY. My address is 18783 Stafford Road, Lake Oswego, Oregon.
Thank you, sir. It's your opportunity to present your appeal.
All right. Well, I heard the case that way. My big concern is there at Rosemont and just past Rosemont, there's a nursery there and there's some, garden plots and a lot of sulfate and stuff drained down there. Okay. I live on a residential 4th Street. Okay. And you want the commercial treatment plant in my front yard. Okay. Now, in other parts of town, they use concrete cisterns. They have the water go down. Instead of
They use concrete what? Mr. McVeigh, I didn't hear what they use concrete what?
A cistern or a tank.
Oh, okay.
It's an underground tank where it goes into, gets treated through the tank and comes out, and merges with the creek. Okay. So it would lose all the blight, but it's just going to destroy the aesthetics of the property. And the sulfate's coming down. It's already known because Mr. Cook, a couple of houses up, had a roundabout put in, and now his well is no good. He's on city water, or whatever. He's on a water meter. Okay, so you're going to put all the pollutions from a large area into my groundwater. Might be 5 years, 6 years, but it's going to destroy the groundwater. Okay. Another concern I have is those ponds lead to excessive noise. Okay. I already have fresh water on my property and stuff. I already see frogs, but the ponds lead to an enormous amount of frogs, and the croaking are anywhere from 90 to 110 decibels, where a lot of people by the ponds, they can't use it outdoors. I bought this property usually outdoors. With the underground tank, it would eliminate, the frog problem. And so it's like the reason for retention pond is for the development. I'm not doing any development. There's other places where a retention pond can go in, not to pollute and destroy my property. So all I'm asking for them is either put a cement tank in, okay, and leave as many trees as you can. A lot of those trees are native trees. Okay, I didn't plant any of those trees. Okay, I know if it's concerning or not, but I did contact them at the county before I bought the place, and they said there would be no impact except for 6 foot at the corner of Childs and Stafford. And before I put my fence in, I planted the trees and put the bushes in. I contacted them again. They came out and made me move the fence a little bit. So, okay, everything's fine there now. Okay. Then they come back and said they want to destroy the front half of my property and pollute it with chemicals and pollution. I'm going to get all the pollution runoff. Now, also, one thing you might look at, on the Clackamas County Watershed Pollution website, it says that stormwater runoff is most significant is from road pollution. And they want to bring all that down onto my property. And it's just not the way to do it. I mean, I'm taking the brunt of it. They want to save a little money, but they're ruining the environment, the drinking water, and the noise pollution. I mean, we can't arrest a frog for making noise, but we can prohibit them by putting an underground tank in. I'm not trying to stop the project. I'm just trying not to have it ruin my livability for this house.
Thank you, Mr. McVeigh. If you're finished, you can go ahead and mute yourself again so we don't get any background feedback issues. Is there anybody else who'd like? I'm sorry. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify about this application? In support, in opposition, or with questions or concerns? If so, please raise your hand. Not seeing anybody. Anything further from county staff?
The only thing further I have is that we have an HDA permit, which is if you're subject to 70610A, and then the HDB is if you're subject to 70610B, to clarify your question earlier. The D stands for development, and the other one is the HMB, which is the map verification. So those
What's
are
the H for then? What's the H in HDB?
habitat.
Habitat development. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't have any additional comments, but I would imagine that Jonathan might want to respond to some of the
Sure.
testimony.
Thank you.
Yeah, do I have an opportunity to respond to the
Yep.
appellant? Thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
I would, Joe, I would like to keep the record open because I did receive correspondence from the appellant through Lindsay yesterday afternoon and another one just before this meeting started. So I want to have an opportunity to respond to that in writing.
Okay.
And just for the folks in attendance today and for the record, those are exhibits 8 and 9, and they have both been forwarded to the hearings officer as well for
Yeah, I
his
did
review
get
and
them.
consideration. So,
Mr. Hartner,
So-
do you want the opportunity to submit additional evidence or just argument in response to those submittals? If it's just argument, the applicant has the final word. And I'll hold it open for 1 week. If you want to submit new evidence, I have to give everybody a chance to respond to that new evidence.
I don't believe there's new evidence. I think it would be a response.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
So, in response to the appellant's testimony there, regarding information that the county may have provided during the design process, all information provided was given as preliminary and subject to change. Road projects take several years to develop through the design, permitting, right-of-way processes. And so there are iterations that we go through. So all information provided to the public through that process is preliminary and subject to change. Regarding removal of existing vegetation within the subject area, the replanting mitigation plan that we've included in the HC application meets the mitigation requirements and at the proper ratios. And in fact, will provide this habitat area with a higher quality than it is today. Regarding extensive noise due to frogs, I do want to just reiterate something that was in my presentation, which is that the proposed rain garden will not have standing water in between storm events. Rather, it will fully drain in between storm events, and that drainage should occur within no more than 6 to 8 hours. It is a matter of hours. But I'm certainly not an expert on frog habitat, so there could be other noise considerations. Regarding the ground contamination, I will point you to my presentation, and I can provide the specific section in the water environment standards design standards, but they specify rain gardens as an approved and encouraged stormwater management approach in residential and roadside applications, which is the nature of our subject area. Additionally, rain gardens are intended to treat and remove pollutants prior to getting far enough into the soil to be a hazard to groundwater. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. With that, I'm going to close the hearing. I'm going to hold the record open for 1 week for the applicant alone to submit a final written argument. So hold it open. It's the 26th, I guess it'd be November 2nd. I'll hold the record open until November 2nd for the applicant to submit a final written argument. Ms. Nesbitt, what time is it 4:30? That has to be, or is it 4 o'clock?
4
So anything the
p.m.
applicant wants to submit has to be physically received by the county by 4 p.m. On November 2nd. I will issue my written decision within 2 weeks after that, which would be November 16th, which is within the 150-day clock, so there's not an issue there. I think the final argument doesn't count towards the 150-day clock, but regardless, I'll get it out well before the 150-day clock runs out. So that's what I'm going to do. I will ask staff to also submit copies of the PowerPoint presentation from staff and the applicant, just so I have those when I'm writing the decision to refer to. But as I will issue my written decision, I'll send that to the county. This county will send it to parties of record, which at this point is just the appellant. But as I noted, if anybody else wants to receive a copy of my decision, you can contact the county to get put on the list. That concludes our hearing. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.